republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so on the agenda, number 3, I will read our mission is to encourage everyone to see and be their personal best through successful learning experiences. Become your best. Item 4, adoption of the agenda and consent agenda as the order of business with identification of items to be taken off the consent agenda for discussion and/or separate action. Can I
I
get a
move we
motion?
adopt the agenda and consent agenda as the order of business.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, moving on. We will consider the approval of the consent agenda as adopted. We will approve minutes of the August 19th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. Approve financial report for the period of July 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2025. And approve bills for the period of August 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2025 in the amount of $2,418,706.08.
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
I second that.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, with that, I'll hand this back over to Bob.
Thanks, Tony.
You betcha.
Appreciate it. Sorry I'm late. Board District Leadership Team, Strategic Planning, Legislative Update. Scott, take it away.
Good evening, everybody. We did meet yesterday in Sheboygan County with our local representatives. I've just got a brief update from all three. Lindy Brill reported that there are several bills currently impacting WRS retirees and their ability to return to work in some capacity. Those are currently being discussed. She is advocating for those as well. She made mention of that. Joe Sheehan, he updated by saying October, November really is the time for writing bills, so they're ramping up for that. He also, the two primary initiatives he's looking at right now are voucher transparency and itemizing voucher cost on property tax bills. That's something maybe you've read about.
Nice.
Green Bay doing that in the news and things of that nature. And then also initiative to make breakfast and lunch free for Wisconsin students. So that continues to be a focus
All right.
across the state. Devin Lemieux indicated the Senate will be on the floor October through December and then shortly after January as well, so not much happening right now. It's on the horizon. And he did reiterate that there are 2 or 3 bills related to that WRS for retirees that are being discussed in caucus at this point. So I think the perception was that those bills were tracking, and then news came out last week that perhaps they were not tracking, they were dead in the water, but he affirmed that, no, they are in discussion. They're still being discussed in caucus. So that was the update for our local legislators.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Finance, Building, and Grounds, consider action to approve the 2025-2026 preliminary budget to be officially published for the annual meeting. And Amy, you're going to take us through that, right?
Yes. Okay, first we're going to look at the budget recap that is colored. This you're familiar with. I handed this out in July. This is just updated with, newer information that we've gotten, and it reflects all of the hiring that we did over the summer. So this is a comparison of last school year at this time to this school year at this time. I'm just going to highlight a few of the line items in here. The first one being interfund transfer. That is the transfer that we make from our general fund to special ed to cover the portion of special ed costs that's not covered by the state or the federal government by grants and reimbursements. So you can see that I'm projecting about $200,000 less this year. The state budget, when it was passed this summer, did increase the special ed reimbursement rate from 33% to 42%. However, that reimbursement is some certain, so it's not going to just be a flat 42%. It's a dollar amount, it's divvied up over, throughout everyone, so we don't know what our total reimbursement is going to be until all of the data is collected throughout the state. So I always over budget for that, so that it's worst case scenario. So I don't think that the transfer will be what that is, but it's still less than the previous year. So that is why that is lower. The next line, local sources, is higher, and it's going to continue to be higher. And we'll talk about that when we go through the next form. But state aid did not increase, so revenue limits could go up, but the only way that you can do that is by way of tax levy. So we'll continue to see that line item increase over time every year, because revenue limits can go up, but again, we're not going to get any more aid from the state. Then is the interdistrict. That's our best guess for open enrollment right now. A CISA grant, again, it's just a small amount. State sources, it's pretty flat. I think it only went up like $150,000. Fed sources remained pretty much what they were last year. And then other sources it is what it is, what we're just budgeting what we did last year. So you can see that our revenues are only increasing about 1.1%. Below that are our expenses, projected expenses so far. This does reflect all of the hiring that we did throughout the summer, so everyone that we have as of now. It also reflects the insurance increases that we incurred when we renewed our policy. And it also reflects some budgets that we, decreased on purpose because we were anticipating not much of a revenue increase. So total expenses are relatively the same as last year. I had to take the percent out over on the right because if I kept it in there, it just had a zero. So that's how small it is of the increase. Down below, you can see that we're projecting a $383,000 deficit, which is really not out of the ordinary for us. We've had much higher, as you can see. Last year's was $700,000. So right now, this budget, I feel, is very sound. It's in a really good place. So that is a recap of what we're going to talk about in this other publication form. But before we go to that form, does anyone have any questions about this one?
No? All right.
No? Okay. This next form is, DPI changed the format, so this is different than what you've ever seen before, but it's the same concept. Every year we have to adopt our budget for publication. So this shows our audited annual report in 23-24, and then it shows the actuals for 24-25, which was last school year, and then our budgeted amounts for 25-26. The budgeted amounts listed are what are on this recap form for funds 10 and 27. But there are going to be some other funds that we go through that are on this publication. But what I want to point out on this recap, we talked about our deficit of 700,000 last year, but you will see that our beginning fund balance of 24-25 was 9.6 million, and we ended the year with a fund balance of 10.57. We actually ended up adding $950,000 to our fund balance once our audit was complete this summer. We did not plan that. And there's two main reasons why that ended up to be. One was the closure of TID 4 in the city of Plymouth. The city gave us about 90% of the revenue that we were to get from that TID closure to pay for the projects that we had already done, which was the Fairview roof and the Horizon entrance. So we got a little over 500,000. But the Horizon entrance was only like $30,000 done by the end of June. So
Oh,
everything else that we got from the TID closure ended up going into fund balance. The other main reason why there was so much is because we operated last year understaffed, mainly in special ed department. We were down at least one teacher and quite a few aides. So those funds weren't used. I did restrict 500,000 from this 10.5 million, as I had the previous year for, projects or an emergency or whatever, Horizon, equipment, whatever might come up. But that is still included in this 10.5 million. So that's just how we ended the year. The Horizon project, there's about 250,000 remaining to be paid, is in the budget of this recap already. So the deficit includes the 250,000.
oh, it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so that's why that difference in fund balance is so much. So this first page here is all Fund 10, and that is basically a recap of what we just went through. If you turn the page, Special Projects Fund, this is Fund 21, which is our donation fund, and Fund 27. They lump them together. So you'll see there's no revenues, and the revenues and expenses zero themselves out. One, we don't budget revenues and expenses for Fund 21 because it's a donation account, and it could be zero for the entire year. And two, special ed has to be zero. So your revenues and expenses will always equal zero. The next fund is debt service fund. That's our tax levy. And, sorry, I'm still learning how to read this. Our tax levy is actually going down some. From the previous year. But, we always earn some interest on the funds that we have in the account. So there's always a little bit of difference in the fund balance. But at the annual meeting, we will go through what the actual tax levy is and how all of that ends up to be, because we don't get final numbers from DPI until October 15th. So again, this is just a prelim budget that you will be approving, and it will most likely have some changes to it by the annual meeting. The next fund is capital projects. That's Fund 49. That's the turf project that we had. You might remember we took donations over 5 years. We continued to collect them. This should be the last year that we collect them, and at the end of this year, it should be 0. The next fund is Fund 50, which is food service. This budget right now is very, very conservative. We are not doing free meals this year, and we're not really sure how that's going to play out. So the revenues are budgeted lower than what they probably will be, and the expenses are budgeted at probably what they will be. So it's showing a projection of a deficit of 242,000, which is going to take a lot of their fund balance, but I don't anticipate that happening. And over the next month, Jenny and I will look at how things have been going so far and see, if we want to adjust anything, how things might come in. I took revenues from 2 years ago when we had paid lunch, but expenses from last year because everything was so high. So if we don't sell as many lunches, the expenses might not be that high. But if we do sell as many lunches, we would also make more. So, don't know. Turn the page. The next fund is Fund 80. We will also be talking about this at the annual meeting, but it's important to note right now that we will be proposing an increase to community ed tax levy. They have been at $185,000 for as long as I can remember.
Forever.
I
Yeah.
think forever. So, we've looked at a lot of information, evaluated a lot of the programs and athletics that they've taken on and that they pay for and they cover, and their office staff and administrative staff that it takes to run all of their programs and daycares. And we just feel that it might be time to start slowly increasing their levy. So right now, it's proposed to go from $185,000 to $245,000. So I think $60,000 increase. So that plays into the numbers that are on this publication and in their revenues. Their revenues on this publication do include like their daycare expansion, their increased rates, things like that. So they're a little bit higher. Expenses though too, there's some things that they want to do to, revamp some of their rooms and their spaces. So it does include expenses like that. So they're projecting a little bit of a deficit, like $32,000 right now. We don't have anything in the next thing, and then it just wraps it all up into all the funds. But I don't really like how it shows over on the right there. But I don't know, I couldn't fill it in any differently. So on the way bottom though is the proposed property tax levy by fund. So you will see the increase from last year to this year for our operating levy. It's going up about $380,000. And then our referendum levy is going down. You can see the increase in community ed and then the increase in the total school levy. And that percent increase is 1.8%. So I do just want to, so this publication is what you will be approving. But before I ask if there's any questions, I want to just touch base, and Scott, you can chime in too. We want to touch base about the TID closure in the city of Plymouth and how that's going to affect us going forward. We met with Baird, and we also got our estimated valuation for our taxing district. And the estimated increase for this year is 18.7% valuation for all of the municipalities. But the TID closure was 7.5% of that valuation. It added $169 million to the value of our taxing properties, which means we're becoming more property rich, I suppose you would say. That's how DPI likes to word it. And in subsequent years, our aid from the state will most likely be reduced because of that. So our tax levy will increase because we'll be getting less aid from the state. But our mill rate continues to go down. So we were talking to Baird about defeasance. We've talked, a few years ago, we brought this to the board. As a way of keeping your tax levy level and paying down some of your referendum debt so that your taxpayers are not, seeing such a fluctuation in tax bills. Do you want to
Yeah.
elaborate?
No, I think you hit it. And so Jordan will be with us at Committee of the Whole, our next October meeting, to elaborate how we might approach this to spread out that, instead of a sharp curve up or down, spread it out, for example, over a 2-year period so that it is flat for our taxpayers and we don't see the extremes one way or the other. So he will be here and be able to shed more light on that singular aspect and what we might entertain doing to achieve that. And that's an addendum to the budget we're proposing tonight, but that would be forthcoming.
Right.
And again, good that we have increased property values within our municipalities. That's a good thing. But with state funding being what it is, property-rich districts receive less aid from the state and vice versa. So as we increase our property values, the state says, hey, great, congratulations, you have more individuals, more property contributing to the overall tax levy, therefore you don't need as much aid from the state.
Aid.
And that's a layman's explanation for you.
So in order to remain operating under quote-unquote the same revenue, the tax levy would have to go up because we'll get less aid from the state.
Right.
So then if the revenue limit ever increases or aid from the state increases, then that, your tax levy can fluctuate. Because
Okay.
then your tax levy is going to go down if you get more aid. So defeasance is a way to keep your tax levy at more of a level amount.
And it's just a assumption of, so the feasance is what? We're making an assumption of over a long, is it an average? Is it, what are we doing that's different?
You levy a certain amount above your referendum amount that you have to. So, and then the additional amount that you levy goes toward the principal of your referendum debt instead of staying on schedule.
Oh, okay. So we're fixing our percent.
In a way.
Okay.
Jordan will have
A good
He's gonna have
explanation
visuals.
for
We
us
don't-
with charts
will.
and pictures
will.
and good. good.
But we wanted to at least bring it up and not just drop it on October, whatever date it is.
Right.
That, this
And
is
is this
something
a
to think
practice
about.
that we're seeing other districts do around us or not?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, and frankly, it was something that out of our conversation, we hit on a lot of things, but he said, this is really something we should take a closer look at, just to spread that out. And he mentioned it really over a 2-year period to be able to do that. So, again, I don't want to take my explanation any further, because I will not do it justice, not my wheelhouse necessarily. But Jordan and Amy at the next meeting will be able to, charts, graphs, explanations, we'll have it ready for
I
you.
can equate it to 3 years ago, our tax levy it dropped significantly to like 11 million. And in 2020, it was like 13 million. In that, when it dropped to 11 million, we could have kept it at 13 million, and the additional 2 million
We could have put
toward the
principal
referendum. And I
in the
think that was
referendum.
when we talked about it. And it was voted not to do it, that's fine, totally fine. But now with this TID closure, we may find this is gonna happen more often than not, so, and not just like a one-off year like we had. So we thought it's worthy of a conversation, and Jordan's gonna bring, much more information for you. But we just wanted to make you aware.
But in doing this, those funds would only be designated toward the principle of our referendum.
Yes,
Right.
they're not
Paying
for the
down,
district. they're not for
accelerating the
anything else.
payment on the referendum. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that.
So does anyone have any questions about anything that I talked about?
And Amy, you said this is the new form the state requires?
Yeah, they moved a lot of stuff electronic, so it's just weird. I'm not a fan, but the other one was a lot easier to read, but
So is it possible that, obviously this is printed out in one long form, but is it possible that the heading, the fund description type with the dates could be on each page? It would be just easier reading?
it would be. I have to
You just don't have
see-
a way to do it? Okay.
Well, it exports into a PDF, but I'll
Okay.
check tomorrow.
Just check it, just because if we're going to have people looking at it, we might as well make it easier to read, so you're not
Yeah.
flipping back and forth.
I know,
So,
it used to print out in like just one nice little
Yeah, I know.
page, so we'll see, but the numbers won't change.
No, I figured not, but. Okay, all right. Thank you, Amy. Anything else for Amy? Any questions? All right. With that, we'll move on to consider gifts and corresponding budget adjustments.
Yeah.
Scott?
Thank you. We've got two. One, a donation of $780 from Sargento to Parkview Elementary School, and secondly, a donation of $1,864.80 from Riverview Wrapped for transportation to Bay Beach.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept these gifts and the corresponding budget adjustments.
I'll move that we accept the donations and the corresponding adjustments.
I'll second.
All in favor, say yes. Yes. Opposed? And thank you to those generous donors.
Bob, can we just step back?
Uh-oh.
On 7A, we need to get a motion and a second to approve that.
Oh, I'm sorry, in the preliminary budget. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad Amy's here.
So we need a motion to approve the 2025-2026 preliminary budget to be officially published for the annual meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Thanks, Katrina. for keeping me on task. Item 8, policy update. Consider approval of second reading of the Neola Update Policy, Volume 34, Number 2, and approve of Policy 5120. And Kathy, you took us through this before, right?
Yeah.
So,
We had the first reading last month.
right.
Janelle and I met in July
Right.
with everybody else, so it has to be read twice.
Yep,
So
yep. So I need a motion to approve the second reading.
I move that we approve the second reading as Kathy and I have discussed previously.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right. Consider it read. Item 9, enrollment solutions. Scott?
Yeah, and Mr. Travis, you may wish to move your location
I'm
because we've got a
going
slideshow to go with this. A little bit of background, we've been talking for the last year, and I know you've been talking prior to that, about our enrollment situation, the fact that we're in a state of declining enrollment. We've looked at solutions, we've attempted solutions along the way. I would say us along with nearly every other district in the state. Most are in that state of declining enrollment. You can admire the problem, or you can take a look at what are some potential solutions. So the first thing I'd like to say is, this is the very first of many conversations that are going to take place related to this. In order to make a good decision on anything, you need a ton of input from all stakeholders, and we will be seeking that out as well. So this is the very first step, all right? And I'm going to say it about 5 times probably. Nothing has been decided. This is something for conversation. So I'd like to keep this conversational as we go through this slideshow. All right? So the title, Enrollment Trends, Implications, and Solutions. The agenda, and just so you can pace yourselves a little bit, we've got 14, 15 slides. It's not 60 to 70. But what we're going to accomplish is outlining the challenge, look at enrollment trends, remedies that have already been implemented or attempted, implications of declining enrollment, why are we concerned about it? We're going to look at a proposed solution and advantages and hurdles that may exist with that proposed solution. And then we'll talk about next steps. And we have a slide, for example, that is just detailing all the different meetings that are going to be happening, for example, throughout the fall, not only at the building level with our staff, but then with our community here as well. And those we'd be inviting the board to as well. So here's the challenge. This is a snapshot of essentially the last 10 years of our enrollment situation. If you look back at 2016, 2017, we were at 2284. Last year, we were at an even 2,000. And you can see that it's, with the exception of one little minor blip in there, really it's been consistently on that trajectory, all right? The interesting thing is if you can keep that graph in mind, and now we go to this graph, and if you'd superimpose them, they're very, very similar if you overlay them. The birth rate in Wisconsin as well is down at roughly the same rate, all right? So this is it's a contributing factor. It's not the only factor, but it is certainly a contributing factor. People are having fewer babies. Related to that, public school enrollment specifically is down at an even more increasing rate. In the last 10 years, it's essentially dropped roughly 7% if you were to add all those different things up. We highlighted a couple drops that, okay, we saw a decline at about 2.3%, and then once COVID hit, that had a significant impact, and then since that time, we've dropped another 2% or so. All right, but you can see that it was fairly flat, slight decline, then a significant decline, and then that flattened out a little bit, but we're still in a state of declining enrollment. Things that we've tried, we've looked at natural attrition of staff. You know, anytime someone moves on or anytime someone retires, it's not an automatic rehire. It's, okay, let's take a step back, let's look at it. Is there a way to be more efficient? Is there a way that makes more sense in evaluating those things? Reduction of sections. 2 years ago, we reduced our kindergarten section, or I should say, one kindergarten section at Fairview. Last year, we did the same. So you had that reduced section from kindergarten advanced to first grade. So at Fairview, we only have one section of first graders currently. We only have one section of kindergartners as well at Fairview. Now, I don't want us thinking that it's a Fairview issue, because we strategically went to balance the numbers to the best of our ability. So we took from throughout the district to try and even them out, specifically between Horizon and Fairview because of their proximity, to balance it. So again, main point here, it's not a Fairview issue, it's a district issue, okay? Fairview has seen the more visible implications of that, okay? We've reduced our budgets. General supplies, professional development, and service contracts have all been reduced over the last couple of years, and probably prior to that as well, as we have gone. Significant marketing efforts as well. Jamie has spearheaded that, and we had many videos that went out and are posted on our website of testimonials and things of that nature. Really a great job in that area. Have these things helped? We believe that certainly to an extent, but to what degree, it's really hard to measure the impact that they have had. So why should we care about that? You know, I mean, obviously, we want our buildings busting, and the more kids, the more life, the culture, and all of those aspects. But there is a fiscal impact of this as well. School funding is tied to enrollment, so fewer students means we get less aid from the state. Currently, we get $11,650 per student. You certainly can do the math, but it's directly tied to our enrollment. So as our enrollment decreases, we have less categorical aid coming in. Revenue limits have not been adjusted for inflation since 2014, 2015, leaving many districts increasingly underfunded. This is just a reality for all of us, okay? And a direct result of these things, again, many are in that state of declining enrollment, plus you look at the lack of response to inflation changes. More than 3/4 of the districts in the state are currently relying on operating referendums to maintain current levels of programming, okay? Since 2018, between 70 and 80% have passed operational referendums. Again, operational different from capital campaigns in that capital, it's the building, right? Capital project. Operation is more programming, salary, benefits, and those types of things. When looking at potential solutions, again, we don't think you should take the approach of, okay, how do we minimize the detriment? It's more of, okay, there's an opportunity here. What is that opportunity? How can we improve what we're doing? All right? So things that we should keep our eye on. We want a solution that maximizes opportunities for students. It's one of our pillars. It's got to be fiscally responsible. And here's the interesting piece. I think we in Plymouth are in a unique situation because we have to plan for our declining enrollment, the state that we're currently in. However, we know that there are significant housing projects on the way. Just east of us, we're looking at about 116 single-family homes going in, and these homes are being tailored to more that younger family. So again, we're glass half full. We believe that's going to increase our enrollment down the line, but it's not going to happen overnight. Last week, I think last Thursday it became public, 67 as you leave town, there's the curve as it curves to the west. On the inside of the curve, on the north side of that road, will be another development at 119 single-family homes. Okay, so again, we are optimistic. So any solution that we have, we believe has to be responsive to both our current state of declining enrollment, but then equally responsive when we start to see the trajectory go up and increase. The last thing we have up here is that needs to focus at the elementary level at this time, because what we're seeing is each incoming class is less, okay? It's like one less section. We've got 6 sections historically in recent history across the system. All right, we've been at 5 the last 2 years. Couple that with our biggest classes are graduating and moving on, right? So our classes, as they go through the system, are not what they once were. Now, feel free to take a picture of this slide, make a poster of it, you know, whatever you want to do, but if you forget everything else, remember this slide, all right? We are not proposing an operational referendum. We are not proposing closing any schools, and we are not proposing laying off any faculty or staff, all right? I'm not going to repeat it, because I think the lead up to it was big enough. But please, please understand that, and certainly feel free to relay that to people if they have those concerns, okay? So we're billing this as one possible solution. This gets the conversation going, okay? A possible solution might be Horizon becomes a 4K through first grade school, those 3 grade levels. Fairview becomes grades 2 through 4. So again, 3 grade levels, but you're looking at our younger kids at Horizon moving to Fairview, all right? Parkview would essentially remain the same, and we kicked this around quite a bit. The rationale for this is multifaceted. One, Parkview's numbers are very solid right now, okay? And also, as you look at transportation and things like that, Parkview is largely our cascade. It's to the south, it's to the west. It's a little bit different, whereas there's a lot of blending between Horizon and Fairview. So we think that aspect would cause less disruption to our families, all right? And again, note, this is just a proposal to explore. No decisions have been made whatsoever. This is a conversation starter, okay? Now, some advantages of this, and this is where we need everyone's perspective, and we will be getting that, and we'll talk about how we're going to do that. But as we, as an administrative team, batted this around a little bit, what are some potential advantages? Greater consistency in class sizes, okay? Because you're balancing, instead of a building of 2 sections of first grade, now you've got a building of 4 sections of first grade. Easier to balance class sizes across more sections. Greater flexibility adjusting to both increasing and decreasing enrollment. Again, that's critical in this because we don't want to have this reverse conversation in 5 years because, oh my gosh, we're really seeing an influx. Efficiency of grade level staff and resources, and I'm going to roll right into the next one. I think they're tied, really. Enhanced collaboration of grade level staff. Something that we talk a lot about is collaboration between our staff and the support of one another from a curricular standpoint, an instructional standpoint, sharing of resources, things of that nature. Right now, we've got 2 individuals at Fairview that are flying solo. We have 1 kindergarten section over there and 1 first grade section over there. Now, not to say they can't do a good job, but the more we collaborate as a staff and the more we lean on one another for ideas, the better off our kids are going to be. Another thing is it could allow for all-day 4K. And this is something that we've talked about, again, it's been talked about before I came. And it's something that potentially could set us apart from in attracting and retaining of our families, right? Because there aren't many in our geographic area that are offering the option of all-day 4K. It's more half-day, all right? So this is something that might be able to set us apart a little bit as families are looking for that early childhood care. Here's an illustration. This is our current 2nd grade, okay? Now, on the left, you'll see the actual class sizes that we have. And the illustration is meant to point out that there's a discrepancy in the sizes of our enrollment in those classes, right? We go from 22 down to 16 and then a few in between. So there is a range. because they're across multiple buildings. If it were restructured, then you have a much greater ability to balance those numbers to avoid any highs or lows when you look at enrollment across the buildings. Now, considerations, all right? Things that we really need to take into account, and I'm sure these things will come up repeatedly, and rightfully so. Movement of students, if we were to do something like this, what does that transition look like in that first year? And how do we set our students and our families up for success, knowing that that transition can cause a great deal of anxiety, right? So how do we do that so it's a positive? A lot of times, we adults struggle with that more than our kids, I think. So it's really not just a student thing, it's a family thing as well. Movement of staff during that first year. This would necessitate the movement of staff if we were to pursue something like this. And that's something that we would have to be very conscious of in how we support our people. It creates one additional transition for Horizon and Fairview students between grades 1 and 2, all right? Consistency is important for our kids. If you would do this for our kids that are at Horizon, as soon as they're done with first grade, they jump to Fairview for second grade. So it is that one extra transition. Transportation logistics. This is something that for us is down the list a little bit as far as concern. I think that's fair to say, because, you know, we look at our current routes and the overlap of our Fairview and Horizon families to a great extent. This is something that really we think logistically we could make happen fairly easily. And then childcare capacity. If we have a significant number of 4K students that might have morning 4K and then afternoon childcare with community ed. So if we would go to an all-day 4K, for example, does that open up an increase in the amount of spots available for our infants to 2, you know, and things like that? It would just shift the dynamic there a little bit. And of course, we say capacity here because the ratios of adults to children differs based on the age of the children, right? Our younger kids, you're going to have more adults present on that adult-student ratio than you would with 4-year-olds. So, and I realize I'm throwing a ton at you in a short period of time. Here are some dates and how we would map out this fall. Again, we can't stress enough that good decisions can only be made if you get the input of all stakeholders. So there will be both in-person and electronic opportunities for us to gather that information. But what we're going to do is, this is the very first time we've talked about this publicly, right? Tomorrow, our staff will be made aware, and this slideshow will be linked as well. We'll be including this slideshow in our family newsletter that goes home Friday for September from the district, so everybody's going to have access to this. We will be meeting with all of our staffs, not just the elementary, but our middle and high school staffs, as you can see in that top left quadrant. And then our first community meeting would be 5:30 p.m. on October 8th. That would take place here at the high school in the cafeteria. Open to anyone, but really the target audience is our elementary families. We really need to make sure we get good participation from them because they'd be living this, right? So again, messages will be going out to them in addition to the newsletter and things of that nature. And the idea there is to present the information, and then let's facilitate that in small groups, and then the conversation of those small groups gather that information so we can compile the data and find out, okay, what are the questions people have? What are the suggestions? What additional information do we need to gather for people to make a good decision around this? All of those types of things. We did add committee of the whole for October, November, December. Same thing with our regular board meetings because we will be providing updates to the board at that time. You know, what are the conversations in these meetings? What is the data showing us? What are some of the primary concerns? What might be some resolutions to those concerns? Things like that. Then after that first round and report back to the board in October, you can see that end of October, we are going to have follow-up staff meetings at the elementary level only at that point. Again, a second touch point with all of our staff members at the elementary to address some of the initial concerns or positives that they saw from that first meeting. Community meeting number 2 would then take place November 5th. Again, an invitation to anybody who's interested in this, but again, that target audience, we've got to get our families here and hear from them. Then obviously, we would, at the earliest timeline, we would make an initial recommendation to the board at the regular board meeting in November, further discussion, committee of the whole, and the earliest action that we are recommending would be at that December board meeting. Again, the board can take any action, or no action, or table it, or bump it out. Hey, we need more information about A, B, and C. So that is completely flexible. This is the earliest any action would take place. Now, I'm not sure, the board's going to have some initial questions, and some of it you might want to wait until, we see the data from the feedback of the staff and the families. But I'll show you this slide, and then the next slide, what we will have at the end of any presentations for our staff and our families and community members is a QR code, so that at the end of the meeting, they'll be able to snap that real quick, fill out a form that's going to ask specific questions about what do you like, what don't you like, what concerns you, what other information, et cetera. So again, that's one of that electronic means by which we'll be gathering all of that information. So again, a lot. I guess I would just open it up to you, Bob, and discussion that the board wishes to have at this point, or questions, concerns, all of it.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
I have a question about the all-day 3K.
4K.
4K.
Yep.
There's no 3K. 4K. What other, I was just talking to somebody about all-day 4K, and I can't remember what district they were in. What districts in our area offer it?
It might have been Random Lake.
Random Lake does it.
yeah, I think that's it, though.
And I think maybe Campbell Sport would be the next.
And I'm not sure about Campbell Sport.
Yeah. Used to, I know.
Okay,
Yeah, my daughter did that.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you asked the questions here, what excites you about this proposal, right? All day 4K, that excites me. Well, we've been on this track for a while now anyway, but I do believe the structure and what we're talking about here would allow us to address early childhood education and wraparound care, right? The quality care. So, it puts us in a better position to consider those strategies, and those strategies are the ones that could excite and maybe get a few more families to move into this area, into these homes that are going to be built, or live in my basement like my daughter should, but yeah.
What kind of capacity do we have for each of the elementary schools? Do we know? Like,
Total capacity, off the top of my head, if I'm going to do the math, roughly, and Nick and Matt, feel free to chime in, but if we've got 2 sections, each grade level currently,
like 250 to 280 is a good ballpark.
okay.
Is that each school is roughly the same
Yes,
size?
Same
then?
capacity.
They are?
Parkview's got a little more space than.
And are class sizes around 20? Or they
Typically.
typically, okay. We don't cap kindergarten or first grade, do we?
At Horizon 2, like, we have some of our classrooms that are utilized by daycare throughout the day as well. Like, we have the infant room, we have the toddler room, we just added another toddler room. We also have 3K, and Mulder that uses that. So there's 4 classes right now that are used for daycare on top of our normal daycare.
Other questions?
So you have potentially Horizon hosting 4K and first grade, Fairview with 2 through 4. I guess my question is, you have 2 grade levels at Horizon and 3 at Fairview.
It's 4K, kindergarten.
Oh,
and
okay,
first
yeah,
grade.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, so 3 and 3. So what, I guess my question is, would it be possible to fit all the, can you get 3? Just trying to think. With the Parkview having all the kids there, are you able to, if you wanted to put each grade level at every school and not have Parkview have all of them? Is that a possibility?
So are you saying,
Instead of having all the grades at Parkview,
yeah,
right, use Parkview as the same where it's all of one specific grade or whatever.
So divvy it up a little bit more.
so instead of 3 grades at a site for Horizon and Fairview, having 2 maybe, is that kind of where you're headed?
Yeah,
We talked about that and the initial feedback, and please jump in. You're creating an additional transition for kids, which would be a concern. And the more we looked at transportation and the enrollment at Parkview, it really presents itself as more of the ability to be a standalone at this point.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that
It really
fair?
has to do with busing, yeah. Because they have 65 more kids than the other 2 schools, and they have their own, designated area of busing, and there's really no overlap, where Horizon and Fairview can sometimes have overlap. Parkview is just Cascade, it's Glenbeulah,
Right.
it's certain areas, and all
Okay.
those kids just come from there, and those buses, they're full, and those routes are longer, so the timing is already a struggle sometimes, so
Okay.
to get them to other schools might be tricky.
Does this allow then to have 2 classes per grade level, or will it be 3, 4?
Ideally, 4 sections per grade level.
So 4
Now-
4K, 4 kindergartens, 4 first grade.
Right, I mean, that's what your goal would be. The reality is, you may have 3 for example, right now, you may have 3 in kindergarten, 3 in first grade based on our current numbers. But then you have, again, the flexibility to increase that if you need. And the movement from 2 sections in a building to 1 is much more stark than it is going from 4 to 3. That going from 2 to 1, and Nick, you've lived it, and Matt, not as much, but
A lot of phone calls to parents who don't understand what's going on.
it's very difficult, right? And where is that line? Okay, we got 30 kids. Well, it's too much for 1, certainly, and now you've got 2 sections of 15.
15.
Meanwhile, at another school, you've got 22,
Yeah.
so.
What challenges does this place on for special ed needs? Does that expand well with our current staffing, or does that mean we have to increase more staffing because we'll have to have specifics around that younger students that could, the aides that could tend to more classrooms now have to get split up?
They would, and again, I'm inviting people to jump in, but you would probably have an easier time covering because you wouldn't be split up across as many grade levels. So you have less curriculum that you have to master to support for our special ed kids. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's fair, because now you have, within your one school, 4K through 4th grade, you have 3 to 4 special education teachers, and they're dividing up those kids across all of those grades. So then you're looking at different schedules, whereas now you would have more isolated, more than likely, you would just be one person per grade level, and not have all of those crossovers and needs to be met. And developmentally, when it comes to some of those needs, there's more consistency. You don't have as big of a span of what you might be addressing.
With the childcare situation, get any restructuring if you're moving the 2nd to 4th graders to one building and the younger ones over to Horizon? I know families like to keep their kids in the same building, so can the little ones still go over to Fairview if bigger brother and sister are there too?
Yeah, and in our conversations where, okay, we already have childcare at Horizon, and if that is our younger grades, right, 4K through 1, then it's more consistency for them at those very developmental ages. So that was part of the rationale there. Janelle, I'm not sure I'm answering your question though, so.
I know it'll be continued
Right,
as the
so
input comes
again,
along.
this is a proposal.
Yes.
Right.
So
Right.
obviously, there's still a lot of conversations to be had, and we know that the more ideas and the more input, it's just gonna, help to sort of walk through some of these things. One thing we did talk about was the possibility of like a transfer bus, so that parents could have one drop-off, maybe it's at Horizon, and then those kids would be in daycare together in the morning, and then they could be then transferred to the other school. But again, this is such at the infancy stage of thinking, because this is just an idea throwing out there, and there might be somebody, that attends that has just something way out of the box that we never considered.
Makes sense.
So as part of the premise around this, because the conversation started, how do we increase enrollment, right? And as part of the premise behind this is if we are able to shrink class sizes, there can be a greater attention to the students within that, as well as allow for 4K. Is that part of the initiative of being able to say, hey, we could see an increase in enrollment within that? Or do you see it as something other than those, like, with these things stated? Because I understand greater flexibility, efficiency and grade level, collaboration, those are all great things. But I don't see those as like the markers to wave the flag of, this is what's going to help with an enrollment. It's going to, I think, create a better health maybe within our district. But would you say that the class sizes and then the opportunity for 4K says, hey, those are two reasons why I would want to go to Plymouth School District?
I think that's going to resonate with some people. The other piece is, frankly, the last 2 years, we were in a reactionary mode. And so it creates anxiety among our staff as well. Because, okay, they see that our 4K numbers are what they are and that we're down a section. Well, okay, what does that mean for kindergarten next year then? Is that going to impact me? Are we going to be down a section and so forth? This, with the flexibility, allows us to be proactive, and as our classes move through the system, allow us to more ably capitalize isn't the right word, but respond to retirements, or if we have movement or things like that without shifting kids from one building to another, because that aspect can't be overstated. We don't want to have to shift kids in response to enrollment numbers from Fairview to Horizon to Parkview and so on, because there are siblings involved, because it creates a transition for families that we wouldn't want. This allows, that flexibility piece, it's kind of ubiquitous, right? It covers a lot of ground, and maybe people will get sick of hearing it, but I think that flexibility to be able to be proactive, to respond to both decreasing and increasing, while increasing our collaboration and things like that, I think different things are going to resonate with different people. But to your point, the class size aspect, the potential implications for 4K, I think that's going to resonate with a bunch of people.
I just want to say too, I also think we're kind of addressing both problems, and both issues. The declining enrollment, we've been talking about for years, and the class size issue is becoming bigger. When we had to move kids from, Fairview to Horizon, that wasn't easy. That's emotional, and that's hard for us too, especially, and for families. And to even things out and make things, I think just more streamlined for everyone involved, addressing that issue alone. And then if that results in, enrollment going up, or the housing, helps that, or all-day 4K helps that, that's great. And this design would allow us to easily respond to that much better than what we can right now. Especially like his example, we have 30, first graders at a school. It's too many for a class, but to have two classes of 15 is a little tough when you have other schools that have 20, 22. So then what do you do? Where if they're all in one school, it's a lot easier. You just set your class sizes up between all your teachers. So I think it's almost two parts. And like the all-day 4K, we don't have to do all-day 4K to do this, but can we? Sure. Would it have if there's an overwhelming response and we can make it happen, then it would be something to entertain or, to look at too. But it's more or less trying to figure out how we can make this easier for everyone and take away that fear every year and just make the whole process simpler.
So along those lines, and I don't know the answer to this, I just know our experience, but can families request teachers, or do they request teachers for their child, or is that something we don't speak to, or we?
Sheriff, that,
Yeah.
Mr. Dorgan and Mr. Brandel and I just met as a little subcommittee about that, and are tightening up our language for our handbooks about that. But in general, yes, it looks different at the different levels. At the elementary level, we accept teacher requests from parents in the spring, and I keep them on a spreadsheet, and then we create classes that are built around numbers and academic groupings and very important things. And then I look and see, are we able to honor those? And I do my best. I probably honor 80 to 90% of them, but sometimes you just really can't.
Sure.
Stand in the way, but yes, we will, to answer your question, sure.
Okay, yeah, I mean, and you think about attractiveness to families, if we have a school that has a single track for first grade, right, you don't have a choice. So if that is something that parents do request, well, now suddenly we have 4 tracks, maybe that is more appealing to families that, yeah, I want to go to Plymouth because there are options. I can request a track for my child that I think will fit their needs better. So just a thought, right?
Yeah, I think, I like the creativity around it. I'm curious, have you looked at any other rural schools or rural plus that have done a kind of a split K through 4K through 1?
Yeah, the initial investigation was more around, okay, districts our size, and then it was districts who had 3 elementaries and a middle and a high, and okay, that middle can be 5'8", and so on. So you start to narrow it down quite a bit. It became a little bit of a frustrating endeavor because even within the population of districts that were very similar to us, it's like no two had the same plan. And they all had their own local flavor for what made sense to them. Some it was more Northwoods rural, some it was more, suburban. It was all over the map. So I didn't get a lot out of that research because there wasn't a consistent, hey, this is the structure that would work for us.
Okay. Other questions? I think it's great. It's a great discussion generator, right? And I think it's a really valuable discussion that we can have with the community and staff and see where it goes. But
Right.
thank you. I think it's great.
Are there certain
Kickoff.
meetings that you want us to be at?
That's a really good question. I would love to have board representation at the two community nights.
Sure.
Again, if 2 or 3 could be part of that and help with reporting out to the board. I tell you what, like in my board update or something, or email me, hey, I could make it on this certain date or something, that'd be awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah,
We'll talk more.
that's great. Okay, thank you for that. Let's see, where are we? We are
Number 10,
Number 10.
10.
public participation.
What's that? Public participation. Do we have anyone that signed up to participate? No. So now, why can I not find my agenda? Where am I? President's report?
11 board liaison reports.
What's that?
Board liaison reports.
Board liaison reports. Oh, there we go. Why did I lose this page? So I know one is,
Community education, Sally.
thank you.
And Scott's going to pinch hit.
All right, Scott?
All right, community education update. Thank you, Jamie, for helping me out with this. Hall walking. In response to requests from the community, hall walking has started 2 months earlier this year.
Oh.
It's fantastic. Community members can walk the PHS hallways 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. Friday. No fee or registration, but enter door 18, which is at the south end by Community Ed, and sign the roster outside the fitness center each time. So it doesn't get much easier than that. Youth and family offerings. I'm going to go through these quickly, but as you can imagine, Community Ed has a whole lot of offerings. Bat House Workshop, Intro to Wrestling, Wizard Wand Making, Instant Piano for Busy People. All 4 of those are new offerings. Friday Playgroup, Kayaking, Child Swim Lessons, Boys Basketball Camp, Lifestyle and Mental Health in Youth and Teens, Home Alone, Refuse to be a Victim, Babysitting Clinic, Middle School Lifting, Family Rock Climb, and Open Gym Play. All of these are available. Register for any of these online via MyRec or in the Community Ed and Rec office, right where you enter to do your walking on rainy days, door 18.
All right, thank you, Scott and Sally. Sally Scott. Foundation.
And
Janelle.
actually, I was out of town last week, so Scott is filling in on that.
Good evening, everybody.
I'll just talk to Scott.
It's good to see all of you. Things are ramping up with the foundation. A lot of talk around scholarships, not only wrapping up last year's scholarships, we have a few students who have yet to pick up their checks, which, boy, you wouldn't have to tell me twice. So we're working on those things, also looking at scholarships that will be available in the coming year. So again, great support from the community. Homecoming's right around the corner, so they were talking penny wars. The foundation will have a table set up just beyond where you enter the field after you get your ticket. They're selling ornaments for Christmas. Check them out. They're made by our own kids right here under Mr. Gritt's supervision, so check them out. They're really cool. Nice for those of us who need help with ideas. That'd be a good one. Also, they'll have a Plinko game going, so you can go there, play the game. Mugs are going to be for sale, learn more about the ornaments, things like that. Okay?
Great. Thanks. And then Family Resource Center. Kathy,
All right.
where is Scott going to take this?
We have our regular programs. Biddy Book Club is coming up October 21st at Mead Library. Tiny Tots Playgroup, October 9th at the Plymouth Library. And BYOB, Bring Your Own Baby, October 14th at the Mead Library. They are also sponsoring the Triple P, which is Positive Parenting Program, informed workshops. The next one coming up is tomorrow. Supporting your child with ADHD and neurodiversity at 10 o'clock at the Mead Library. The October 22nd workshop is responding to behaviors at school, and that's October 22nd, 5:30 in the evening at Mead Library. November is coping with frustration, November 17th, 10 o'clock at Generations. And the last one is in December, supporting your child with overcoming fears, December 11th, 1 o'clock at Family Connections. They are also sponsoring the Plymouth Developmental Screening Day for children 6 months to 5 years. Children will be assessed in the areas of language, problem solving, fine and large motor skills, personal and social skills, hearing and vision based on availability. The benefits of attending are people will be able to recognize their child's developmental achievements, supporting their child's school readiness skills, receive parenting information and resources, and then, of course, early detection of potential developmental delays. They are on October 16th, which is a Thursday during the afternoon at Generations, October 17th, which is a Friday in the morning at Generations. There's no cost to any of these programs, but you must register for both the Triple P and the developmental screening. So you can get more information and register at familyresourcesheboygan.org.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
And I think we'd all say you can't do enough, right, to have that early detection. So we encourage all new parents to have their children there for that early screenings. Makes a huge difference, so thank you. Personnel. Scott?
Yeah, we've got two individuals we'd ask the board to take action on. Consider a limited-term contract for Haley Wagner to serve as a family and consumer education teacher at Plymouth High School, and consider a limited-term contract for Caitlin Trakel to serve as an elementary art teacher.
So I need a motion to approve the contracts that Scott laid out.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say yes. Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? All right, and support staff update.
I've got quite a few that I'm going
Okay.
to get through here, but want to make sure I mention them. Robert Kenny has been hired for the maintenance and HVAC position at Plymouth School District. Julia Mulder has been hired for the accounts payable position. Melena McDaniel has been hired as a special education aide at Fairview Elementary. Janine Bell has been hired as a special education aide at Fairview. Jennifer Van S. has been hired as a special education aide at Fairview. Jessica Greer has been hired as a teacher's aide at Fairview Elementary. Ginger Sterling Diemel has been hired as a teacher's aide at Fairview. Sarah Immel has been hired as a teacher's aide at Fairview. Naomi Brantley has been hired as a special education aide at Riverview. Amanda Meyer has been hired as a teacher's aide at Horizon. Rebecca Herron has been hired as a special education aide at the high school. Sarah Bustamante has been hired as a server at Fairview. Aaron Williams has been hired as a server at Riverview. Joan Casper has resigned, as a special education aide at Fairview. Nicole Backus has resigned as a server at Plymouth High School. And Dean Tenhaken, custodian at the high school, submitted for his retirement. Dean was with us for 3 years.
Okay, wow, all right, thank you, that was a long list. We'll move on to travel. Again, Scott?
We have 2 trips that we would ask for the board's approval. The first is for our varsity baseball team under Christian Fulbrecht. He's looking to take the boys' high school baseball team to the Jackie Robinson Training Complex in Vero Beach, Florida, March 30th through April 4th. Students will not miss any days of school. Should I go on to the second right away, or should we take that one individually?
We can take it individually. Can I have a motion to approve the proposed travel request for the boys' varsity basketball coach to take the boys to boys? Well, you can read it. Item A, under travel.
I move that we approve the state travel request from the boys varsity baseball coach.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? All right. Now,
And thinking way ahead for planning purposes, we'd ask the board to consider the out-of-state travel request from Spanish teacher Laura Cable to take high school students to Costa Rica during spring break of 2027.
wow, that is planning
Why should
ahead.
it be so early?
Planning.
Right, so they start their fundraising and also asking students to commit and starting to plan for.
Wow.
Do they
Okay.
go every other year?
Correct, so next spring,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry, not 2026 spring,
They went this past
I'm
spring.
sorry.
They went, yeah, okay.
I make a motion, we accept the travel request from Spanish teacher Laura Cable for Costa Rica 2027.
Excellent.
Second.
All in favor, say yes. Yes, opposed? All right, nothing for 14. Item 15, President's Report. We're off to a start. It's exciting to hear the games going on. It's exciting to hear the activities that are going on in our classrooms. And I'm excited for this group and what we're going to look at for our future to attack the challenges of enrollment and what we can do to just continue to build a great school. But in addition to the beginning, the excitement on the beginning of the year, we have also been in the press. And unfortunately, we had a staff member, a teacher, break the trust that we put in our teachers and break the trust that families put in our teachers. And most important, or the worst part of it, is that we had a teacher break the trust of a teacher and a student. And it sickens me. It sickens me to know it happened in our building or under our watch. And we can't correct what happened. And we will support the former student and her family in whatever way possible. And what we can do and what we need to do is make sure that we do everything possible in evaluating what happened and what do we put in place so it will never happen again. And I know that's a big ask, that it will never happen again because people break our trust. But we, as a district, have a huge responsibility to understand what happened, where we could be better, or how we should be better going forward. So unfortunately, we started this school year on that note, and I just want everyone to know that we're not done with this, and we're going to learn more from this, and we will be better. And our families and our community need to know that we will not rest until we feel we can be a better district for everyone. Okay? And that's enough of my report. I'll pass it on to Scott.
Yeah, thank you for that, Bob. Now the other side to the start of the school year. A few things I wanted to highlight. First of all, Team Panther here at the high school. We have a day dedicated to helping our freshmen transition to this big monster that is the high school. And to see a group of, I'm going to say 30, 35-ish upperclassmen clad in their pink shirts that day, leading our freshmen around, leading them through activities and cheers and things of that nature to acclimate them, was absolutely fantastic. It's great for our freshmen, but then I think we all look at it through the eyes of the leadership opportunity it provides those upperclassmen as well. It's a win-win all the way across the board. So my thanks to the adults involved in coordinating that, but then also those upperclassmen that lead that. Sneak peeks, you know, this really fills my bucket. I think it fills a lot of our buckets to be able to bebop around to all of our schools and see our families and our kids and see our fifth graders opening their lockers for the first time and trying so hard to conquer that lock. It's ongoing, by the way. I still am seeing them struggle a little bit, but we'll get there. But anyhow, those sneak peeks are absolutely fantastic. So thanks to the families that show up and show out on those nights to make sure their kids are off to a great start. Horizon Construction, we've talked a little bit about. We in fact saw a wonderful slideshow to music last time. I was at Horizon again today. It's altered the entire complex, and Matt, I'm sure, feels the same. I actually went out of habit to the wrong door today, and Natalie busted me. So it's fantastic. You know, it was the one building where we did not have our safe and secure entrance. And in today's age, where safety is priority number one, that's something that all of us felt very strong about. So to be able to check that off the list was a very significant check this summer. So my thanks to everybody on that one. Also want to talk about fall activities. Boy, if you're looking for some fun and excitement, please check our website. There's something going on at all times around here. Great things for our kids. Upcoming events, again, refer to the website, but we've got that thing called Homecoming right around the corner.
Oh, God.
It is October 3rd is the Friday, but really it kicks off Sunday the 28th. Boys volleyball, girls powder puff. What a Sunday that is. You've got dress-up days and competitions and athletic contests all week long. Pep Assembly Friday afternoon, parade at 4:15, and that's an awesome event if people have not attended. Game at 7 o'clock that night. It's going to be, that whole day is going to be 65 and sun, so it'll be fantastic. And then the dance Saturday night from 8 to 11 right here at PHS. So tons of activity. Again, everybody's ready for a nap, students included by the end of it. But so many memorable things throughout that week. We're all very much looking forward to it. So thanks to everybody involved in the planning for all of those things. It's a lot of selfless acts that go into it. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott. So, with that, which, by the way, our planning committee for the homecoming is, right, Dan and Sal. But we are working towards some, all right. All right, so item 17, I do need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Who are we playing for home?